In this video, we're going to see how NPCI's NAC payment system works. This is part one, where we see a general overview. So what exactly is NACH? Now, NACH is nothing but the National Automated Clearing House, which is a web-based solution to facilitate interbank high-volume electronic transactions, and it is designed by the NPCI and also maintained by them. Now you have two categories of DAC payments. One is the bulk credits, distribution of subsidies by the government, dividends by corporates, interest payments, salaries, and pension funds are the ones examples of bulk credits. In bulk debits, you have the utility bill payment from telephone companies, electricity companies, water payments, loan EMIs, investments in mutual funds like SIP deductions, insurance premium from your health insurance, and so on. So these are the use cases of bulk debits. So now you will get an idea as to how the SIP mutual fund debits every month on month from your bank account. So before we understand NAC, let's understand a little bit on the old ECS system, the electronic clearing system, which we have been using in the past 2 decades. We are going to see what are the drawbacks of ECS and what and hence led to the new NACH system. So let's assume that you have this NBFC like Bajaj Finance where you have a loan, a personal loan maybe. So they are also known as an ECS user. So as a customer, what you do if you want to facilitate the EMI deduction from your bank to Bajaj Finance, you just fill up an ECS mandate form and share it with your NBFC, the bank where you have taken the loan from. The NBFC or the ECS user will in turn send that mandate to the ECS clearing house. So there are a lot of regional ECS centers for that region, for that NBFC's region. The corporate would send it to that particular ECS center. The ECS center would then forward it to the customer's bank, and the customer's bank will register the same. So this is how the ECS system used to work. So once this mandate is created, the NBFC can then every month send a collection file to collect the amount or the EMI amount from the customer's bank. The customer's bank will validate from the previously filed mandate. So this is how ECS is to work, but there were a lot of disadvantages. The first thing obviously is that it is a manual paper based because the customer has to fill an ECS form. So obviously it's error prone. Secondly, it's time consuming because the physical form has to travel to the regional center and then to the customer's bank for validation. Thirdly, it's geographical limitation because there's no centralized system as such. It's the ECS centers which are region based. And finally, there is the lack of a standardized dispute resolution because the ECS centers are spread across the country. There is no centralized mechanism for dispute redressal. Now, how does NACH mandates solve this problem? So we have both the ECS, the NAC credits and the NAC debits. We're going to see the debits because that's more an involved process, and we can directly compare it with the ECS system. So now the same customer who has a loan with the NBFC or wants to take an SIP from a mutual fund. So he has now two options. He can either fill up an ACH form like he used to do an ECS form manually, or there is something known as an e-mandate, an electronically signed mandate. We're going to look at e-mandates in probably the next video because that itself is a very involved process. By way of these two mechanisms, which is the e-mandate or the NACH form, it would be sent across to the NPFC or the utility provider or the corporate or the mutual fund distributor, who in turn has a tie-up with the sponsor bank. Now, the sponsor bank is going to send across this mandate in a file to NPCI because all the corporates, it's not possible for all the corporates in BFC to have a tie-up with NPCI. So they hook up with the sponsor bank sends it to the NPCI. So as soon as it is registered at the NPCI database, the NPCI creates a reference number, a unique mandate reference number, which is going to link up this uniquely identify this mandate. NPCI then forwards it to the customer's bank. The customer verifies whether the account number is valid, and if so satisfied, it sends an alert back to the customer. The customer is informed of this mandate. And if the customer gets the shock of his life saying that this was not initiated by him, he can always go to the bank or the corporate and cancel that mandate. Finally, an important point to note is that this NACH form, unlike in ECS, you can, or the NBFC can use the CTS infrastructure. Sorry, it's not the NBFC. The sponsor bank will use the CTS infrastructure to scan the NAC form and send it to NPCI, and which in turn it will be made available to the customer's bank. Now, CTS is a check truncation system. It's the same scanner which is used for scanning of checks. It can be used to scan the NAC form so that it is transmitted electronically along with other data files to NPCI and made available to the customer's bank. So this overall is the process of the NAC mandates. And then obviously every month the data file goes from the corporate to the sponsor bank to the NPCI and to the customer's bank to initiate a debit. The debit could be a constant amount or it could be a variable amount as well. And once the account is debited, the customer's bank could send a file back to NPCI, back to the sponsor bank, and back to the corporate for subsequent processing. This makes it very obvious why the NACH has an advantage. One is that there's no paper-based, although we have a paper-based provision, we use the CTS infrastructure to bypass that. The e-mandates obviously made it very simple, and within one day we can have that e-mandate created. There is no geographical limitation because now it's a centralized database having all the mandates, which is maintained in the NPCI's database, no regional centers. And finally, there is a lack of standardized dispute resolution earlier, but that's been bypassed because now NBCI has a very robust mechanism. In the next videos, we're going to have a deep dive into the actual exchange of files, what's the security protocols, mechanisms which are in place by NPCI, and see the NAC credit process as well. Thank you for being with us.